Board Games Insider, where too many consonants meet too many vowels.
This is Board Games Insider, where publishers Ignacy Cevicek, president of Portal Games, and Stephen Bonacore, president of Stronghold Games, discuss the hobby board game industry from the inside, providing you with news, advice, and a look behind the curtain into both of their companies. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Ignacy and Stephen.
Hello. This is not Ignacy Cevicek from Portal Games, but this is Stephen Bonacore of Stronghold Games and Indie Game Studios. And we are at episode 111, July 5th, 2019, coming to you from DiceTower Con, Tom Basil's Con. And I have a special guest with me here today, who is standing in for Ignacy, who is Luke Atanovsky, who, as you know, he's done work with... done the podcast with me before from the Gathering of Friends, and he is the U.S. representative for Portal Games. Luke, say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me back on again.
You are the de facto Ignacy, right? Because he elected not to come here from Poland for like the first time in like several years, right?
Yeah,
He's been coming.
He was a little bummed about that, but he'll be here at Gen Con. And again, just last year's travel schedule was insane. Yeah. Flying from Poland so much, spending so many pretty much months away. Yeah, no, he's burnt out from all that. I understand completely why he couldn't make it. But so what's going on? I mean, you guys have got some great room here at DiceTower Con. You're not in the exhibit hall. You actually got your own room, big shots that you are. We feel a little special because when you look at the layout for the convention, you've got Visit the Exhibitors and Carib Ballroom, and then it says Portal Games.
Portal Games, all by itself, all hanging out.
All by itself. But we have a huge space here, so we've got 5-6 tables set up for just demos, and we have our entire game catalog library set up over there in the corner. We have Detective in one corner and kind of behind a wall, so people have some privacy and they can, focus on the case. We've got a nice, luxurious game topper here with our newest releases. Very cool. And a huge storefront set up, so a lot of people can come and get some bundles, get some specials. So yeah, the Portal Games room.
Now this room looks great. I mean, your signage in here is really cool and leading up to here, so people can find you, which is really good. We're over at right in the center of the exhibit hall for Stronghold Games and Indie Boards and Cards.
Yeah, your booth is quite impressive too. I rounded a corner and I see this massive half dome, and I'm thinking, of course.
Yes, yeah. the now famous arch has shown up now at another convention. It really looks kind of wild here. Yeah. Because, these booths, of course, at the smaller, this is a 3,000 person convention. The booths are much smaller, so it's 10 by 20 foot. Yeah. And that arch spans 20 feet across and 12 or so feet high. So It's pretty wild looking. But so DiceTower Con is great, and we're having a good time here in Orlando, Florida. I got a little bit of time to go to Disney, which was kind of cool. Did you get any time to spend without?
No, but I saw on Instagram or on Facebook on Sunday that you were heading up to Orlando, and I started freaking out. I'm thinking, oh no, why is he going there so early? What did I miss? Was there an early check-in? Did I get my dates all wrong? And then the next day I see pictures of you with Mickey Mouse hats.
My Mickey Mouse ear hats and stuff like that. Yeah, I go full Disney when I come here, so that's really good. But you know what? We should probably talk a little bit about the companies, as we always do. So give us a lowdown on what's happening right now at Portal Games, since Ignacy's vacationing. Sure. You're in charge now, so what's happening?
Absolutely. Well, the biggest thing that's happening is Pret-a-Porter is launching on Monday.
That's huge. Pret-a-Porter, is that how you say it?
Pret-a-Porter.
There we go. On Kickstarter on Monday. That will be Monday, July 8th, but this will drop probably after that, so as soon as you hear this, you can go over there and back Pret-a-Porter.
Yeah, please go give your support. This is our first Kickstarter. We're learning. Give constructive feedback, please. But
be nice to Luke.
Be nice to me. But overall, just please, we need all the support. We want to really start off on Kickstarter with a bang. And, this is the years of board gaming where a engine builder game about birds blows up. So maybe a heavy economy game about the fashion industry. Maybe it's all right. Maybe it won't be just overlooked, and it'll do well.
It's a great game. I got the original before I even knew Ignacy. Yeah. I got the original.
It's a great design, and it's one of our older titles too. So when the beginning of his board game career.
That's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I'm extremely extremely just excited to see how the Kickstarter goes and to get this beautiful game. It's absolutely gorgeous. You've seen it, right?
Yes. No, I absolutely have.
I have a little bit of prototype
awesome.
here so you can see it, but the artwork is gorgeous. The colors are beautiful. The foreground, background, shadowing, everything. So everyone can go to that Kickstarter and check it out.
What else happening?
What else is happening? Well, we've got our pre-orders for Gen Con releases open on portalgamesus.com. We have Empires of the North, which is starting to get a lot of buzz. People coming from UK Game Expo are talking about it, and now we're starting to get some copies drop in the States. And,
excellent.
And we have one of our diehard fans here who loves 51st State. He likes Imperial Settlers, and we were talking. He's like, I'm kind of, this theme is a little, this mechanic is a little over for me. And I said, here, play this morning. Go find a copy, play it. He comes back 2 hours later. He said, oh, it's really good.
That's excellent.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. And then Monolith Arena Academics expansion comes out, and Play Smart. Our Play Smart is Ignacy and Portal Games started off as an RPG company. So Play Smart is the book that he wrote in those days in Poland. It's his bestseller about just being a game master and anecdotal stories and just all this information. So we translated that and brought it over to the States, especially now that everyone seems to be getting into RPGs. I'm learning and studying to be a dungeon master myself.
Excellent.
So this is extremely relevant to me. So I dove into that book, and it's fantastic.
I gotta get back into D&D.
You can come over.
Let's do it.
A game. Yeah.
Excellent. What else you got? Anything else?
I think that's everything I got for what's kind of coming up. I don't want to oversaturate the fans.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right. So over Stronghold Games right now, still we have our Kickstarter. It's going to be, by the time you hear this, it'll be 1 day remaining for D-Mocker Limited Edition. Remember, the credit on this game is that it's the first game ever entered into the Board Game Geek database, a grandfather heavy euros. So if you want a copy of D-Mocker, it is a limited edition. It is not going to be available through distribution at all unless in 2 years from now in 2021 things change and there's more demand. It's only available on Kickstarter and website and convention sales. So check that out, D-Mocker Limited Edition. The Kickstarter is ending on July 11th, 2019, so check it out quick. Our store splash is still happening for Fine Sand by Freedom and Freeze. That's his deck deconstruction game. We'll be in the last few days by the time you hear this. That'll end on July 15th, so check that out at a friendly local game store across the United States. Pre-orders and just released stuff. We, of course, as I mentioned last time, Twice as Clever, the successor to That's Pretty Clever, Ganz Schön Clever, and Bricks, also by both of those by Wolfgang Warsch, just released, and literally just released a week ago, Valparaiso, the late midweight Euro game set in Chile with action programming in your cards. Beautiful artwork by Michael Menzel as well. We also are still in pre-orders for Dizzle, another roll-and-write, number 5 in the line, and Encore, which is Nachmal in Germany. Both of those are going to premiere at Gen Con, so we'll have copies there. But as soon as we get them in, of course, we'll close down the pre-orders, and you can get them even before that if you pre-order them directly from us. And what else we have? Diamonds Second Edition. Second edition of Diamonds is also on pre-order, and it's going to street date September 4th. We'll talk about our October releases in the next episode. We just did announce them to distribution, but we'll go through those later on. Upcoming cons. I mentioned Gen Con, of course, already. You have anything else between now and Gen Con, Luke?
No, Gen Con.
Just Gen Con. It's going to be about 3 weeks off, thankfully, after this. To prepare for Gen Con, which is always crazy. And then the chaos starts. And then the chaos of Gen Con, which is truly a chaotic, crazy, full week for all of us.
And I will say for Gen Con really quickly, out of our 3 events, 2 have already been sold out. But our big 20-year celebration, the ticket count on that was a little bit higher, I think close to 200. So we still have about 50 tickets left for that. So please go on there. And it's a free event. We made it free. It's not one of those $2 ticket events. So you can just go on, get a ticket. So we hope to see everybody there.
Wow, that is just incredible. Wonderful. We have our Rock and Roll and Write event on Thursday night. We're basically playing roll and write games. We've done that to launch games every year. So we'll be launching Dizzle and and Encore at the Rock and Roll Invite event, and somebody might be dressed up in a crazy costume. That would be me. So come over and see that.
That would be a fun event. I would love to go if I can. We played Second Chance in here with the volunteers after hours. So.
I can have you on my VIP table if you'd like to go. I'm serious. We have usually save 2 tables for VIP, so we can put you there if you'd like to go. All right, let's take a couple of swings at the news, and let's go to the event deck.
The event deck. Here's the latest news from the board game industry.
So, what's going on? We have a bunch of things with Barnes & Noble that we that have been talked about. At first, they came out with information that they were close to a sale, and then all of a sudden, Barnes & Noble has been sold. So, Barnes & Noble has agreed to be acquired by Elliott Advisors Funds, the owners of Waterstones, which is the largest book chain in the UK. With Waterstone CEO James Daunt to run both chains, the company announced on Friday. Daunt will be based in New York, a sign that Elliott is prioritizing a new approach to Barnes & Noble after Daunt's successful turnaround of Waterstones. So the background here, of course, is that Barnes & Noble has been doing not that well, and they've constantly tried to morph themselves into a new company, and they've brought more and more and more games in. So they've been a good outlet, a decent outlet for games for many companies for a while, but they still have problems competing there. And now they were going close to bankruptcy, but finally sold to Elliott Advisors in the UK, and they're now part of the same chain with Waterstones, which is the biggest bookstore there. So this is a good thing overall for Barnes & Noble to hopefully they can get turned around.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't know much about Waterstones and the way they have their stores set up, but Barnes & Noble has been on the forefront of getting our types of games into the mass market. And I know that's how I discovered Portal. That's the reason I'm here. I'm here because Imperial Settlers was on the shelves of Barnes & Noble, and I recognized the Polish last name, I recognized the Polish artwork, and I sent out an email. And so, I definitely invested in this story, but it just seems like they know that this strategy game section has been growing. I know a lot of stores are actually converting now, where they're eating into the vinyls and into the DVDs, into all that section, tearing half of that out and expanding their board games into that. So I'm curious to see how the new organization of the company will look, and if it'll continue to expand, since that is pretty much one of the top selling categories of the stores. So that'll be really fun to watch.
No, it's a good thing to see that they're making a big move here, and hopefully they turn things around.
Yeah.
So an interesting story here is that Cartamundi, and let's make sure everybody knows who they are. Cartamundi is the biggest card producer in Europe, and they're acquiring a U.S. playing card company, including a U.S. manufacturing plant. So Belgian game manufacturing powerhouse Cartamundi has reached an agreement to acquire the United States playing card company. And that's actually a very big company who makes lots of card decks, like poker decks and things like that. The company announced the transaction to acquire the Newell Brands subsidiary includes 2 manufacturing plants in Erlanger, Kentucky, and Vitoria, Spain, and the Bicycle, B, Hoyle, and Fournier brands, including games sold under the Bicycle brand, such as upcoming Tattoo Stories. The company has 350 employees and had sales of around $118 million in 2018. So these are big numbers. So Cartamundi, which, by the way, became the huge size that it is once Magic the Gathering happened. They were the card producer for Magic the Gathering for many, many, many years, and I'm pretty sure they still produce quite a bit of those cards as well, because they're so big. But this is interesting that they're now taking a card company that's been in the U.S. that really hasn't produced many cards for board games, but obviously they're going to, I would think they're going to start doing that as well, trying to get card production for our kinds of games here as well, other hobby games.
Yeah, it's not something I know too much about as far as this side of the industry, but it's just good to see that so many people are taking attention into our industry and kind of starting to pay attention and invest and grow it. So
yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we need to have Asmodee news in every one of our episodes. So, new Asmo Play program launches in July. So, Asmodee USA Distribution will launch a refreshed Asmo Play program for in-store casual play events in July. The company announced at Origins Trade Day. today. This was back in June. The new program will offer free bi-monthly premium boxes to support casual play events in whatever format a retailer chooses. Options include, but are not limited to, running a big Asmo Play Day or holding different events for each supported game. Asmo Play boxes released around a theme every 2 months will contain promotional items of 5 games, which can be used to reward participation in events, run unique scenarios, or support play in other ways. So this is another really great thing when, listen, Asmodee being the behemoth by far, nobody even touches them as far as their size and their reach and their scope. We give kudos to what they've done. Yeah. The whole concept of a rising tide floating all boats is much in play with Asmodee, and they have done a great job of bringing more and more people into the hobby and supporting their games, and in general supporting the local game stores by doing things like this. So this is another great way of doing that.
Yeah, and I love this because it shows that a company that is as huge as Asmodee still sees that there's so much benefit and value to refreshing these programs that are able to increase customer engagement with stores and boost the retailer, boost the brick and mortars, and really just move that, because that's how important it is to this industry. That even a behemoth, like you said, can't ignore it and just sit back and just sell games through all the channels. They are engaging with stores. So, that's fantastic.
So Origins attendance. Origins, we just mentioned it in the last news story. Origins attendance was up 11% year over year. They topped for the first time 20,000 unique attendees. The number of unique attendees at Origins Game Fair in Columbus last month, was up 11% to 20,642 from 18,646 unique attendees the previous year, the GAMA has reported. This is about the same increase that Executive Director John Stacey reported at the GAMA membership meeting on Friday. Turnstile attendance, that sums up all of the daily attendance, so like a 4-day badge would be 4 in that case, was up about 1% from 70,700 last year to 71,200 in 2019. This continues a multi-year trend of growth for Origins. And I know that we talked about this on the last episode, that Origins was a great show. Absolutely was a great show.
I've never been to Origins.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you really need to go to Origins.
That's what I keep hearing. So we'll have to probably next year, or maybe once Ignaz and I meet at Gen Con, we'll be able to start putting our plan together for next year's travel schedule and next year's convention schedule. But I know we went to Origins a couple years ago. The inclination, the feeling was that it just maybe for our company, our types of games, our types of gamers, it just wasn't a perfect fit, but it seems to be growing and it seems to maybe have a lot more space for companies. Yeah,
as reported on the last episode, it by far to me felt the busiest, the most crowded, and the sales showed that too. Our sales this year were substantially higher than the previous year. Now, it's still not going to be Gen Con level sales, certainly not like Essen or anything like that, but, much bigger than here, for instance, at DiceTower Con. And the traffic in the booth and the traffic in the exhibit hall was so big this year. I mean, I was so impressed with the energy in the entire hall. So I said Origins is back with a vengeance, and I stand by that. I do think you guys should go. I mean, even if Ignacy doesn't make the trip, I think you should give it a shot.
Sure.
Let's take one more, another Origins story, and this is Origins Awards 2019. The Origins Awards winners were announced at Origins at a special event there. The Academy of Adventure Game Arts and Design announced the winners of the 47th Annual Origins Awards at a gala ceremony Saturday night at the Orange Game Fair in Columbus, Ohio. The games were recognized in 11 categories, including Game of the Year, and the winners are, but we're not going to go through all these winners. It's a crazy amount of winners. But the Game of the Year was Root,
of course,
by Leader Games, which is no surprise. And by the way, the DiceTower Awards were done here. We'll talk about them in the next episode. And Portal won something. We'll talk about that in the next episode when I have Ignacy around. But Root won Game of the Year. They won Best Board Game. Yep. The Mind won for Best Card Game. You can see these as the kind of games that make sense. Collectible game, Keyforge, of course, because Keyforge has been just so incredibly successful. Did you hear? I think we might have mentioned in the last episode that 1 million decks have been registered on the Fantasy Flight site.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, so that's not even the sales. That's just people who got the deck, went to the site, and registered that they got King of Bornai's daughter's deck. You know, those the crazy names that they have.
And I guess, I don't know how many people were expecting customers to buy multiple decks, but it's happening. People are buying more and more and more and more decks.
They want to see the synergies. They want to see the crazy names. They want to see what a fantastic comment. So so congratulations to all the winners of the Origins Awards. This is one of the more up and coming awards. Again, not of the caliber or the gravitas of the Spiel des Jahres, of course. But, you know, it has an impact, of course, you know, to say I won an Origins Award or to say I won a DiceTower Award. So this is really good. All right. I think we're done here. Let's go to strategy and tactics.
Strategy and tactics. Some advice for you from Board Games Insider.
So Gil Hova used to be our editor on the podcast, and he is now former Ferret Games president as well. He's always been that. He's Ingredient X on BGG, and he asks, let's talk digital ports of board games, like the forthcoming port of Terraforming Mars. This is an older thing, which it's now out there, or the mobile version of Neuroshima Hex. Everything I've heard about app versions of board games indicate that physical sales increase when customers get to buy a digital version. Hooray, that means app versions of board games should be a no-brainer. Except that making a digital app is expensive. I've never been quoted less than $10,000 for even the simplest games. That means if I charge $2 for the game in, say, an app store, I need 5,000 purchases to break even. And that's without the app store's cut. And he goes on, and he goes on, and he goes, so what's the question, Gil? So, about how many units of a game do you think should be in circulation before you start thinking about a digital port? I wouldn't do it for a 3,000 print run, but what if there were 30,000 units sold? 20,000? 10,000? What do you think, Luke? Do you have any idea, like, when you should start thinking about a digital game? I'll tell you my opinion is like, I don't know, but what do you think?
Well, you're saying I don't know. So here, I feel like, man, I feel bad for Gil because this would be a great question for Ignacy because, as you know, we work with Asmodee Digital and we have our own, a lot of our games are online and we just launched the app for Tides of Time. So I know that Ignacy is always very positive about digital. He wants to make sure that as many games as we can get on that platform, we should. It's the future. A lot of people are playing that, and it does increase sales of the actual tabletop game. But I have no insight as far as the units.
Yeah. Do you have actually you have games with Asmodee Digital? They have done games for you already?
You know that the Portal HQ in Poland takes complete control of all the online and digital programs. Right. I got a banner to post on the website. I did that.
But you also have internal developers for things, right? And they do like the apps that integrate with the games, right?
Yeah, so we have Terraforming Mars, and we have the website for Detective and the app for Tides of Time released, and I don't know what I can and can't release about what might be coming.
So for Gil and for all those out there, I think the number is way, way higher than any of the numbers that Gil mentioned. It's going to be way higher than 30,000, because if you have to pay for this yourself, then there's no way that we can afford to pay for these kind of things. And if you think about it, I have Terraforming Mars now, and that is a huge selling game. And of course, Asmodee Digital wanted that license, and we gave it to them, and that's been starting to sell now. Even a game like Survive, which, by the way, starting from the beginning of Survive, that was under Hasbro, Parker Brothers Hasbro brand, Survive has sold overall, including their sales, 1.5 million copies. Some crazy number like that. Obviously, most of those were in their realm. Now we're selling it very well. Even that was launched as an app at one point and did not do well enough. The guy didn't do a good job with it. Yeah. We do have hope that it's going to come out again as an app, but we're still working on that.
It definitely depends on the type of game, right? Because we have Neuroshima Hex released as an app, and that app has done very well. A lot of people still to this day come up to me at conventions and say, "Oh, this was a board game? I didn't know. I only played this on the app." So there's so many people that discover that game because it's just a skirmish battlefield abstract tile laying game, and that was a great type of game to have on that medium. And a game like Robinson Crusoe might also do really well, and it's a big seller for us. But it's not these incredible millions and millions of units sold. So I do think that threshold number is much higher than that. Looking at the games that we have in our back catalog that succeeded as apps, but it doesn't have to be in the millions. But if the game works on an app form, it might be extremely successful in and of itself.
Right. So just to wrap this one up, the number is going to be pretty high, Gil, and it's going to be, to me, a 6-digit number, not a 5-digit number. And also, don't pay for them if the developer believes in the game enough, like Asmodee did with Terraforming Mars. They'll pay for it. They'll take a bigger cut, of course. Then they pay you royalties on the sales, and that's probably the best way. At least get a split in of the costs or have the development company pay for it, and then take the lion's share of the revenue on it. Harold Lark, who's Harold64, he asks, Steven mentioned, I guess that's me, Bonacore mentioned a deluxe version of Terraforming Mars. Is this really something in the works? Or are you kidding? Our copy is just about ready for retirement. If a deluxe version is in the works, I would love to replace my worn-out copy. So I cannot comment on anything that has not been announced. I will say that I believed at one time that we would go toward another edition that was deluxe-ified, but we're now taking a slightly different tact on that. So no, we're not going to release the same content again. Because a deluxe edition or a collector's edition releases the same content with bigger things, bigger components, bigger whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Like my collector's edition of War of the Ring, which you've seen there, proudly presenting in my living room, Luke, right?
Yeah, you're making my friends sad. They're waiting for a deluxe edition.
Well, but what we're going to do is something very cool that will be not done before. So that's what we're going to be doing. So it's not like we're going to take the cards and just deluxify cards and deluxify a board and deluxify the components. We're doing something else. So your copy that you have, and that's another thing, is because then some people will feel bad because they have to rebuy and they already have stuff. We're going to be putting out stuff that's not been put out before in this very interesting format, and that's really all that I can talk about right now. And we're hoping that this thing that I'm hinting at will happen in 2020.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right, Stephen Miller. He's given us questions before. He's Gizensha on Board Game Geek. How important are family and children's versions of established games to the hobby as a whole? Stuff like Kids of Catan, Ticket to Ride First Journey, even Forbidden Island, compared to Pandemic, or the upcoming, which prompted this question, My Little Scythe. Again, this is an older question. So how important are these things to the hobby as a whole? Luke, any comment on that?
I think relatively, yeah, they're pretty important. So when you're at a convention like this and you walk around, you see just how many families are playing. And I know DiceTower Con is also a little bit more of a family-oriented convention. Sure. But you're walking through and you see just families set up on tables left and right, playing games, just having a great time, laughing. And to have games that make that easier to do with kids in the range from 5, 6, 7, up to 12, it's great and a great way to kind of get families into it, because so many of the games that we have, they're intimidating to approach, and a lot of the games that our company makes won't be necessarily a great fit for that. So I do think it's a really fantastic way to get families into the hobby.
So I think that you can do this, similar to the question about the digital apps. You can do this with the biggest titles out there. So the ones that Stephen Miller mentioned was Ticket to Ride and Catan and Scythe. These are titles that are selling tremendous numbers of units. So therefore, you could make a family or almost a children's version of these games. You can't do it with every game. And I don't know that we would, for instance, Terraforming Mars could definitely be in that category because it sells so well, but I don't know that we would do it because I don't know that
it's not a fit for what you
guys do. Well, it's not a fit certainly in we don't do children's games, but I don't know that that's a game that, what was it, my first Terraforming? It just sounds kind of weird, right? Kids of Catan makes sense, and Ticket to Ride First. Kids of Mars, maybe a collaboration between your Mars game and our Mars game.
Well, the results in our game is usually quite tragic at the end, so that's that's not where the road.
The kids always have to survive on this one, though.
So I think where this works really well is when you have parents who really have a lot of fond memories with a certain game and a certain theme, and they're looking for a kids version of that game so that they can play with their children, right? And that's what works with My Little Scythe and Ticket to Ride and Catan. You remember playing these games, right? And down the end, 15 years down the line, when you have kids and you're trying to cultivate little gamers, that might be a great thing to do, where you have this game that you have so many fond memories of, and you want to take out the children's version and play with your kids.
All right, so I think I'm going to be the bad guy this time, and I'm going to have to say we're going to have to go to the final scoring.
All right, sounds great.
Final scoring. Let's find out what's happening at Portal Games and Stronghold Games.
So thank you, everybody, for listening to us on this very special episode where I had Luke here instead of Ignacy, who's back in Poland relaxing in the heat there. We're sweltering in the heat over here. Make sure that you post your questions in the guild that we have on Board Game Geek. You can find that there. I'm sure you're smart people. We have a Facebook page specifically for the podcast, Board Games Insider Facebook page, and of course /Stronghold Games and /Portal Publishing, all the company's Facebook pages. We have the company websites, strongholdgames.com, portalgames.pl, and the one that Luke set up himself, portalgamesus.com. Social media, Twitter, @StrongholdGames and @Chevicek. Same thing for Instagram, same for YouTube. We are at YouTube channels. Upcoming conventions, Gen Con, we talked about it. Can't wait. It's craziness. It's going to be insane. So if you're going to be there, make sure you stop in at the Portal Games party or one of their events, or check out the booths that we'll both have there, or the Rock and Rollin' Right with me there. Share the podcast with your friends. We don't have anything secret here unless Luke has something secret to talk about.
Nothing secret. Just want everybody to be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Just a reminder that we have 2 things releasing every week. We have the live stream on Mondays, and then we also have the the Portal Insider kind of peek behind the company. Besides that, I've got a Twist interview scheduled for tomorrow, so when this drops, it'll be pre-recorded.
Oh, that's cool. I've got one for today. So Twist Gaming will both be on Twist Gaming. We'll be previewing Dizzle on Twist, so check that out on the Twist Gaming channel on Twitch. Absolutely. They'll have that recorded. And what are you going to be previewing there?
I'll probably bring the Predaporter.
Oh, there we go.
And Empires of the North. We'll see if they give me enough time to talk about both. And I'm sad to miss out on the Crocodile match between you and Ignacy this year, but
no Crocodile match.
No Crocodile match. But I heard whisperings that did you challenge me to block us, sir?
Oh no! Did I do that? Was I crazy enough to do that when you said you're like a Blockus savant?
Yeah. Well,
all right. We're gonna do that at some point.
We're gonna have to.
We're gonna have to do it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Appreciate it. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Board Games Insider with Ignacy Chevicek and Stephen Bonacore. Board Games Insider has been made possible by you, our listeners and hobby board game enthusiasts. Ignacy and Stephen thank you greatly for your support of their companies and the hobby board game industry. Follow both Portal Games and Stronghold Games on Twitter, like both companies on Facebook, and sign up for their newsletters on portalgames.pl and strongholdgames.com. Please join us next time on Board Games Insider.
You're listening to the DiceTower Network, the home of smart people, insightful board gaming commentary, and Stephen Bonacore. Find out more at DiceTowerNetwork.com or network.com.